If there's one thing Alberta does better than almost any other Anglophone province, it's getting pissed off and forming political parties. So while most people are going to be voting NDP or United Conservative, there remains a vast and diverse cornucopia of ways for Albertans to throw their votes away. Here is a brief guide to the fringe parties looking to grab your protest vote. Alberta Independence Party. The platform for the Alberta Independence Party is simple. Form government, hold a referendum within 4 months, and then separate from the Dominion of Canada. And since we're already in La La Land here, they also propose to eliminate the GST, implement a flat tax, and do it all without reducing government services, which I remind you are really, really expensive in Alberta. Anyways, as Brexit has taught us, it's super easy to exit a long-standing political and economic union, and there are no consequences whatsoever. Despite this, Albertans kind of like the idea of independence. Some polls have separatist sentiment as high as 30%, but that doesn't mean they like the Alberta Independence Party. It doesn't appear to be polling higher than 1%. Alberta Advantage Party. A bit of Alberta political history. You had the Progressive Conservative Party of Alberta, which was in power for 44 years. Then, in the 2000s, you have the Wild Rose Party, formed by Breakaway dissidents who accused the PCs of becoming a bunch of corrupt secret liberals. So, they go form Wild Rose. Then, a few years ago, most of Wild Rose merged with the PCs, but a splinter group of Wild Rose refused. Then Jason Kenney comes along and merges the splinter Wild Rose back with the Progressive Conservatives. The Alberta Advantage Party is thus filled with people who splintered off from the splinter party of the splinter party that splintered off the Progressive Conservatives. Its platform is very similar to the United Conservatives, except with more words like tax slaves. Freedom Conservative Party. This is the splinter Conservative Party that is different from the other splinter Conservative Party that I just mentioned. Its leader is former Wild Roser Derek Fildebrandt, who was kicked out of the United Conservative Party due to allegations that he's a serial liar who keeps screwing up. So he and his beard formed a Conservative Party that Jason Kenney can't kick him out of. Fildebrandt's kind of like an Alberta version of Maxime Bernier, except he has a poaching charge. But the Freedom Conservative Party's chances aren't as hopeless as the other Alberta fringe parties. Albertans love to split the right-wing vote, and if Conservatives lose faith with Jason Kenney, they're probably going to go to Fildebrandt, and he might come away from this with a few seats. 2 weeks before the election, they were polling at about 2.5% support. This is also the party where former Wild Rose leader Brian Jean is rumored to have briefly considered a political comeback. Alberta Green Party. That's right, a Green Party in Alberta. Now, before you laugh, just know that in 2008, the federal Green Party got 5,000 votes in Stephen Harper's Calgary riding, which isn't that bad. Still, they're pretty much doomed provincially. But here's something interesting. Most other Canadian Green parties want to shut down the oil sands right away and build an ultimate frisbee golf course on top of them or something. The Alberta Green Party takes a more moderate approach of simply not building any new oil projects. Communist Party of Alberta. Yes, there are communists in Alberta, Edmonton mostly, but they're not very good communists. Their platform doesn't really contain the words revolution or seize the means of production. Instead, it's mostly just a bunch of regular lefty promises. Free tuition, better welfare, blah, 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 blah. Some of their promises also exist already, such as progressive income taxes. One nice thing though, Alberta communists promised to reduce police powers, which is the exact opposite of what communists usually do. Social Credit Party of Alberta. That's right, the SoCreds are still technically a thing. While Social Credit eventually became a regular populist conservative party, it may be hard to remember that when elected in 1935, they were one of the nuttiest political parties in Canadian history. Social Credit was based on this wacky British idea that you could just make everybody rich by printing money. But you wouldn't call it money, you would call it a prosperity certificate. In 2017, though, the party was taken over by anti-abortion activists and is now the pro-life Alberta Political Association. Still, it's not the weirdest end to a former Alberta political dynasty. From 1921 to 1935, Alberta was run by the United Farmers of Alberta. When they lost power, they simply disbanded their political wing, and now they run a chain of farm supply stores.